Welcome back. Well, it's finally time to do wishlist number 2. You may have seen that Dreamtonics has released version 1.10 beta and adds custom track colors, which is great. I'm not going to install the beta at the moment as I have projects on the go and I can't afford any changes or hiccups. Sure, we can wait for the release version. Plus the voices need to be updated as well, so it's kind of an unusual update. In the meantime, thank you to everybody who submitted ideas and suggestions for our wish list, and I've kind of tried to amalgamate them all into what I'm about to go through now, so they may not be specifically individualized, but hopefully incorporated together to get these results. To start with, the list is things that really should already be in there, but need to be said out loud and shown, I guess. Anyway, let's get on with it. At number 1, it is the ability to copy directly in the piano roll. So Alt and left drag, let go, and boom, it's a copy. The next one's kind of a pet peeve. You're going to see what I'm about to grab this bar. Now, it's only 50% of the time that I actually grab it, because if I'm trying to make this bigger, half the time it does that. I end up jumping, and I didn't want to jump. I wanted to make this thing bigger. You have to be so accurate. What I like to see is you get near the scroll bars, and they get bigger and easy to grab, and you can just scroll to your heart's content, and that's the same for the sides as well. On that same note, a fairly common convention is being able to press your middle mouse button if you have one. And like I should be panning right now on this screen, but it doesn't work. I would like to see that because I use a pen and tablet. It doesn't have to be a main feature. It could be a keyboard shortcut that we have control of. Next, zoom functions. This is a kind of major oversight, I would think, because it's really important to be able to get in and edit these things closely. And at the moment, again, me on the pen and tablet, it's a drag because I have to use the tablet on a button and then click and drag and try and size it like this. And it's really hit and miss, and it's so easy to kind of do that, which I don't like. Again, really, the zoom thing should be as simple as boom, Shift Z, and there we are. We're at the full current composition. Simple, easy, right? And then Z on the keypad, on the keyboard, and drag around the area you want, and boom, and that's zoomed in. It might actually also be useful to have a preset that we could have so that, instead of the program deciding what our zoom is, we can actually set one, and then it works as a default so that every time we start the program, it's set. Next up is more note feedback. Something like this. We gray down the keys just a little bit more, and you can activate it so that wherever your cursor is, it's showing you which key is selected, because once you get far enough away, this corduroy of stripes doesn't mean a lot to you. I know we all know there's a C sharp and everything else, but when you're working, you shouldn't have to be figuring that out all the time, So if these light up as you're moving around, then that will tell you where it is. And the other thing is if you click on a note, it should show up over here. Or if you select it, it'll show up here. And going a stage further than that, if you look in here, there's a hidden menu, and I say hidden because really it's navigation. It should be on the navigation page. Anyway, that's another thing. So these buttons could be moved to here, for instance, so that we don't have to open a menu to find them. Or again, it'd be useful to have them available as keyboard shortcuts, which currently they are not. And all they do is go from the note you're on to the next note, which is actually really useful. And if there were keyboard shortcuts added, and I'm thinking the arrow keys, that's, again, another convention that really is easy to follow. You can whip through, find what you need to find, and go one step further and make an ability to, I'm drawing a little circle here, but I probably would have to go underneath them. Just a little box that you can tick on or off to say, I want to hear the notes when I select them. So currently I can see all of these words are in here. And if I hit the next button, I want to hear those words. Makes sense, right? I mean, or if or even if you select them, it should just play that note. Because why else would you select it? You want to know, you want to do something to it. You may as well be sure that you're on that note, right? So more feedback and note feedback all around. Customization is just so useful in any kind of program, especially a creative program. And for instance, if you wanted this background, the contrast to be different or completely different colors, you should have that ability, you know, because it makes no bones. It's like the easiest thing in the world to do for programmers. But for us, if we find this frustrating, say you're colorblind or say you've got a low contrast monitor and these things just meld into one big blob, you can solve that with having a bit of control. But at the moment, everything's fixed. So that would be great. More simple kind of navigation things that we could add is markers along the timeline here. And again, they're usually like Control M, and it adds a marker, and they're useful, and they could be numbered 0 to 9, for instance, to start with. And your numeric keys, 0, 1, 2, 3, would just jump between them. And then these would also jump to the next and the previous. So there is, under the keyboard shortcuts, a function called transport loop over selected. I've selected the letter L for loop, and so you just do that and you hit L. Heart was locked inside. And it immediately sets the loop points and starts it playing, which is kind of cool. I don't need it to start playing, but whatever. There is this, seek to measure, and I programmed it to the period key. But unfortunately, when you hit it, it doesn't give you a cursor there. So you actually have to hit the button, select that, type 8, then OK, and then it'll jump to 8. And it's not even centered on the screen, as you can see. So it's kind of a real miss as far as I'm concerned. What should happen? Well, we know what should happen. I push period 8, enter, and it jumps to the 8 with it centered in the screen like this. Okay, the next one's a kind of a biggie, and well, bear with me. You see how we can change these layer order? That's really useful, right? Well, I think we need to be able to do that with the menus as well, because I may look at, say, this voice here, and there's a lot of useful controls on here because these are the ones I adjust. You can see I've got animations on them. Yet half of them are off the screen, and things that I set once are dominating the screen here, like language. I'm never going to change it to anything but English, so I'd like to be able to drag this little block here to the bottom of the pile. Same with the voice. It's a one-time thing. I set it up. When the voice gets updated, I update it, I look at it, but it's in there because we can select the voices over here. We don't need to do it from here. Therefore, it doesn't need any sort of importance. So these two things here would go to the bottom. Then you got vocal mode. So it would look like this then. And you would have vocal mode at the top and all your parameters within sight and right down to your tuning. And now see, synthesis engine, that's something you're not going to be changing all the time. So every useful function under this icon or in this menu would be available to you just as you would expect. You wouldn't have to be scrolling up and down and trying to find it. Once you've customized your windows, then you would save that as your default file, which is another thing we should have. Okay, and the final feature I'm going to talk about is something that I feel is really important because this program is like, well, it's a synthesizer. It generates audio. And so far, this is the only audio generator I've ever seen that doesn't give you control over the volume of the things you're generating. Now, I know we have, let me scroll down. I know we have this loudness ability that you can put animation curves in, which is cool because it is useful. But to be honest, since every note is effectively its own sort of little subsystem. It can have different takes. They can have different vibrato settings. They basically are individual items. They should also have individual volume controls. And the reason being is that, like on a song like this, I'm going to play this actually, and just have a listen. Actually, listen to the second verse and listen to this last note relative to the others.
His wings were broken from their latest fall.
Okay, so it's very low in pitch, but it's also, you can actually see it. It's very low in volume as well. There's nothing in my brain that doesn't say, why can't we select that and drag the volume up? Not necessarily to look at this get fatter, but to actually hear it get a little bit louder, right? Because you should have the ability to adjust the volume of all the notes, and also complex notes that say, like this one, broken, which is in two pieces. If I select the two of them and I adjust the levels, then they both get adjusted. Now I realize this could cause complications for the AI part of the system, because the AI is what creates the transitions between the words and things. So for instance, if I changed this from the word fall to, plummet, then everything would change here. I'd now have two syllables, and it would be new phonemes and everything else. So the volume I set for fall would have to basically just go away. We would need a relative slider like this, basically. So have some sort of loudness thing that pops up that's on the, well, in fact, you know how you can add another panel? Let's just have a new panel that has other features on it, instead of graphs. Instead, it could have things like, you could customize it as well. You could drag loudness on there. Now it's there and it's active all the time for every note. That would be fantastic. That's wishlist number 2. Hopefully you agree on most of these things, because personally I would find them all ways to improve the workflow. It's all about workflow. Okay, until next time, see you soon.
The gold and the white swan.